Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show, and got one of our sponsors here has had some excellent news out on the lithium project. This is Sokoman Minerals, and we've got Tim Froud on the line. Tim, thanks a lot for joining us this morning.
Always a pleasure, Alan, and sorry that this is probably cutting into your morning ritual, but I decided this news had to be told as fresh off the market as possible.
I got my coffee here. I'm ready to roll, Tim. And look at what you woke me up to. GH22-27 cuts 15.23 meters at 1.04% lithium and 4.18, 1.48%. That was hole 27. Where we are here, another hole, 29 hit 2 meters of 1.02%, 28, 2.1 meters of 1.18%, and 29, that 1.5 meters of 1.25% lithium oxide. Excellent stuff, Tim.
Well, you know what? The first thing people have to realize is that we're still just feeling our way around here. We're basically prospecting with the drill because we've got so many targets and so much to get into here today. But the Killick was a rather ordinary looking trench. Yes, there was some spodumene observed in surface, and I think we got up to 1.5% from grab samples, but it was previously untested until this program, and all three holes cut above 1% lithium, which is indicating that better grades are possible. And even in fact in hole 26, because the three holes 25, 26, and 27 that cut the Killick zone, 25 and 26 are a two-hole section. And 27 is a step out, I think about 30 meters to the north of it. And, our best results to date, Alan, and again, I'll reiterate that we still don't fully know what we have here yet. It's that it's that exciting. And we'll get into
Tim, one of the things that stands out to me from that map you're showing, that plan view, is look at all the pegmatites just popping out all over the place there.
Yeah, and I know what you're referring to. You're referring to these whiter areas that you see here on the map, and these are areas that we actually do see, bedrock exposed. They're little hummocks or little hillocks. Don't forget, this is more like Northwest Territories in terms of how it looks on the ground. There's very little bush here. You do see some greenery around some of the waterways and ponds here, but for the most part, you can see what you can see, and that's a good thing. In that you just basically walk from hummock to hummock, and if you're lucky, you find a dike. And we're finding that the new soil anomaly, and I'll quickly just jump to that because
even I can find them just using your plan map there.
So the previous slide, this one here, is now represented. We're zooming back. It's now represented with this area right here.
Okay.
So when we first found Kraken, we were trying to figure out, well, what's the best way to explore this for this target type regionally. So we decided to throw a few lines of soils down over where the known exposures were, and sure enough, the soils lit up quite nicely in lithium in soils. And you can see here, the reds are greater than 70, 76 to 100, and purple 100 and up. And so it lit up pretty neatly. So now what we've been doing is basically stepping it, because we've got such a healthy land position. It's 60 kilometers of strike length along this feature. And now don't forget, so these lines, so these black boxes are square kilometers. So, here's a 2 kilometer long, with just 4 lines on it of soils. That's 2 kilometers to the northeast of the Killick zone, which is where we just had our best drill results. And look at this. I mean, again, equal in magnitude and tenor to soils that are done over known exposures. We haven't been here yet, Alan, because these soils were collected last December, when of course it was completely snow covered, and that's all we could do to advance the project, was basically do soil sampling. And here we are with some really robust values in soils that, you know, unless there's something really strange going on, that these are probably representing as yet unsampled, undiscovered pegmatite dikes with lithium in them. So,
and you know what, one of these other maps you're going to show later is what you're seeing on this, on your soil geochem. You're seeing as you get into the drill holes that it's a good indicator of where to go find with the truth machine.
exactly, yeah, the soil profile generally hasn't moved very far, even though the area is glaciated, but the soil that is built up on it is very local. So, you know, I would be very surprised if that, you know, we dug right underneath this cluster of purple anomalies here, that we didn't find dikes like right away. It just depends on the depth of the overburden, but it shouldn't be too thick here. But again, you know, this is all stuff that we're basically waiting for spring, and you know, hopefully we'll have an early one and get out here and find more dikes. Now, you know,
well, I got another question for you. Well, you got this map up. Is it looks like you've got a structure there that is associated with the cluster of geochem in the bottom left of the page, but then you follow that structure up, and right along it, it looks like bang, bang, bang. You've got a red, a pink, a red, and that's wide spaced soil as sampling.
Oh yeah, but look
right
at these
there.
two here. You got red and purple here, and this is the trace. This is what's called the Bay d'Est fault, and perhaps I should have highlighted it, but anyway, and it's the main reason, one of the main reasons why we staked this property in the first place, was because this is the same fault structure that just to the southwest of us, about 20-25 kilometers, maybe not quite that, is the past producing Hope Brook gold mine, which is, you know, the reason why we staked this property in the first place was for gold, and it still does have potential for gold. It's just that obviously we've made something very interesting in terms of a new, you know, totally unknown, previously unknown swarm, and I mean a swarm of dikes that have lithium, and in some cases, like at Hydra, which again is a further 12 kilometers off to the right of this map, you know, some cesium as well, and tantalum, and all the other goodies that come with these dikes. So, you know, good things happen when, you know, you go out and send a good team out to prospect. And prospecting still works in Newfoundland, in spite of our, you know, long history with mining for over 100 years. There's still areas that you can go out and find stuff. And we're only 12 kilometers from a paved highway here, so it's not like we're, you know, 1,000 miles from nowhere. It's you know, this is this is infrastructure wise, you know, a great location, and we're only 30 kilometers from the ocean as well. So
you bring up another good point there, Tim, is that one, that old-fashioned geology works, walking around and looking down, but you got a pretty good family there that has a long history of walking around and looking down and finding stuff in the Stairs family. And, you know, former PDAC award-winning family. So you got a hell of a good team that's doing that, walking around and looking down.
Yes, exactly. And you know, before I forget, or if I get too excited, which I can, which happens sometimes, I forget to talk about stuff. But here's the cross section through holes 25 and 26, which were the first two holes drilled at Killick. And here you see basically two, you know, very strong dikes coming down. Obviously, the lower dike is the one that certainly got some really nice juice in it. In fact, we're even getting over 2% over, you know, a few meters here, and almost 10 meters of over 1%. And then again, if we move to the next section to the north, again, everything is wide open.
Let's go back to that section, because right away some things pop out off the screen on me. Let's start at the top. You went in there and trenched. You drilled underneath it, and you hit, and the mineralization continues. So that tells me that your trenching work is identifying excellent targets. That's one thing.
Yeah, and they're also they're at surface too, which is important. You know, these types of operations generally function better as open pit mines and than underground mines, depending on the grades, of course. But you know, in the 1 to 2% range, I mean, this we're only down, you know, vertically 25, 50, you know, basically 60, 65 meters vertically. So, you know, all of this material, and you know, again, what's in the page and out of the page, because that's where the drill holes are going next.
I know you want to go to the next one, but also what I see is continuity. Everybody says that grade is king. In reality, continuity is king. And you've got 2 hits there lining up, showing excellent continuity. That's the second thing that sticks out to me. There's one more, Tim, so tell about the continuity you're seeing there.
Well, yes, exactly. Well, it's nice when you can undercut a hole and, you know, you get it in the box for the second time. It gives you, you know, some idea as to, you know, the dip of the thing, makes better planning for your future holes. And so right away we decided,
hold on. There's one more thing on that map, Tim. Now, knowing what I know about dikes, they can pinch and swell along the body. But you've also got to the right of that 2 hits, you've got another dike coming down, and it looks like they could come together as you go not very much further down.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens when we undercut hole 26 for sure, Allan. And when we do get started again, by the way, the camp is in place. We actually flew in last week to recover some of the core from these holes for show and tell at PDAC, as well as we've got some government officials now wanting to pitch in and help with some unsolicited research, trying to help us figure these things out. And yeah, so
and you've got in 26, you've also got to sniff further down the hole, so maybe that's something like a blind dike.
Well, we know there's more than one. We know there's a swarm here. I mean, clearly you can't connect the dots between Kraken, West Kraken, Killick, and East Dike, and all these things. They're not all one dike. This is a swarm of dikes, and which is not surprising. I mean, these things generally do not occur in isolation. Like, you won't get one dike developed off of a parent magma. I don't know. I mean, it's just not going to happen in my mind. So, you know, there's clearly a lot of dikes there, and have we found them all yet? No, not a chance. I don't think so. That soil map tells me the best may yet be to come here, Allan, in terms of, you know, widths and thicknesses. So
okay,
you know,
sorry for interrupting you so much there, Tim, but I can't hold back my enthusiasm from what I'm seeing there.
Well, it is quite exciting, and like I said, it's nice to see the grades also starting to pick up here. And again,
let me take a wild guess. The direction, if you keep following that, is there a fault somewhere near there?
There's a couple of faults. As I mentioned, the main Bay Des fault that we staked for structure for gold is not that far away from here. And whether or not now we'll actually get dikes in the actual fault zone itself, that remains to be seen. We haven't been, it's a little bit further to the south of where these holes are. So we'll get there eventually. But the thing is, I mean, we've got the tiger by the tail here now. So as I mentioned, we did drill a 3rd hole at Killick. It's about 30 meters, I think, to the north of the section you're looking at now. Okay. It's a single hole. But with our best intersection in terms of you know, thickness over 1%, and it's nice, it's comforting to see that, because I know people were kind of lamenting the fact that you know, we had less than 1% in some earlier drill holes. But again, Allan, we still don't know where we are, and we don't understand the system enough yet to say, yeah, that's the best we're going to get. I don't think so. I think the best is yet to come here, and I think Killick is going to deliver. And obviously, when we get going again, probably in a month or two, once spring starts to show some signs of life, we're going to be back in here, because the camp is in there, the drill is in there, all ready to go. We got the money in the can. So the first few holes obviously are going to be you know, following up on holes 25, 26, 27.
Well, you know, Tim, from my perspective, I'm outside looking in, and I'm seeing a trend here. You guys started out, you're learning, you're doing the boots on the ground, you're finding stuff as you look down. Now you're following it. You had some earlier success. And now you're starting to get a better handle on pinpointing stuff. And as you do that, now you're getting these 4 meter what is that, 15 meters of 1% and
Yeah.
4.18 of 1.5%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're learning on the fly.
Yeah, and again, it's still open to depth, to the north, to the south, pretty well in all directions. And this is obviously where we will be kicking off, the next round of drilling. We're saying 5,000 meters, but that's probably conservative. Obviously, we're going to watch our costs as we go forward. Drilling's a little more expensive these days than it was a year or two ago. So, we don't want to, overextend ourselves, but at the same time, it's hard. It's hard to stop drilling when you're hitting, goods in the box. So,
well, and another thing that pops out to me. So now you've got a nice thick intersection of over 1% there. But you follow it and you get another sniff on the other side of that. Those could be blind dikes that aren't coming to surface, that you've got secondary mineralization there. And how do they tie in together at depth is pretty exciting stuff to me. I know that second little intersection there isn't going to get a lot of people excited, Tim, but it looks like it could have something as you go deeper into that as well.
Again, just first pass recon drilling is really all we've done here, Allan. And the sky's the limit, as they say. But again, I'm back to that soil map again, which is the one that excites me perhaps the most, even more so than getting above 1%. Here's Killick right here.
Wow.
And that's 2 kilometers to the next serious step out in terms of soils. I mean,
right on that structure.
Right on that structure, right? So it's coming through there, right? So there's, like I said, I can't wait to get out here. I might be the first one out, but anyway, because I do like getting out and getting my hands dirty and things like that, and to see what's causing this anomaly. I mean, I would be very surprised if we didn't find at least float or something here, because lithium just doesn't fall out the sky, at least not lately. Maybe 4 billion years ago it did, but anyway,
exactly.
But this to me, and it's there, it's on every line, right? Even though it's weak here, it could be just the condition or the quality of the soil sample. Maybe it was a little more boggy right here, but there's something definitely brewing on this line. And what's out here, who knows?
One series is right on top of a fault, and the other one is parallel to it, with looks like there could be another fault on the east side of that map.
There's certainly a lot of structures here, and the key thing is you've got a major, this is a major structure. I mean, it goes for well over 100. It runs off into the ocean, south of us here, and gets buried somewhere up around Valentine Lake. Actually, there is a path. Actually, there is a path that takes this fault almost up to Valentine Lake. So anyway, there's lots of structures here, but what's key is that you've got a major one, and it's the secondary ones that could be the most important ones, like it is in the Dester Porcupine. I mean,
right.
Yes, there is mineralization on the Dester itself in Ontario and Quebec, but by and large, the bigger mines have been on secondary splays off of the main one. So yeah,
well, it sure stands out to me that anomaly down the more developed grid is right beside that fault. So there's got to be some association to how those dikes made their way right beside that fault.
Well, like I said, you do need the regional sort of effect here, because I'll just go back to this map here. And so basically what's happening in this part of Newfoundland is that you're squeezing into something that's probably less than 100 kilometers across from something that up here at this end is over 400 kilometers across. So you're squeezing. This is a major collisional zone, and these are the areas that you need to generate the heat to melt the sediments and things. And sediments are important because it's the micas that ultimately carry the lithium, and they get remelted, and those granites, the S-type granites, is derived from sedimentary rocks, melts from sedimentary rocks. These are the areas where you need them. You need these high strain zones, and obviously it's just the Bay d'Est fault would come through here, and I'd like to bring it up to that way, but where it goes, there's very little information. This is very poorly mapped, understood area here. Even though it's part of our property, we just haven't been out there enough to know what we have there yet. And 2023 is going to be a very busy year, hence the camp in there, and we've got a chopper booked for the whole summer. So we're going to be pretty busy beavers down there, and I'm pretty confident that we'll come up with a few more rabbits out of the hat yet.
Well, now you've got the Moosehead on there, but I want to make sure you've got some more slides here on the lithium. Let's finish off the lithium before we talk about Moosehead, because you're gonna run sort of bang 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 drilling programs on your Moosehead and your Kraken. So let's get to more of this juicy stuff you got to show me on your PowerPoint, Tim.
Well, the thing is, and this can't be overlooked as well, and obviously is going to be a very important driver of this project's success going forward is infrastructure, Alan. I mean, you need to be close to stuff, and Kraken is there. I mean, it's just 12 kilometers from pavement. You see here this electrical power bolt. Well, this is where the government put in the substation to supply power to the Hope Brook gold mine. So, here's a ready power grid, just ready to divert a 12-kilometer spur line off that to, and obviously this is forward-looking statements, but if you were looking for things or reasons to dismiss a property, it's in the middle of nowhere, you need 1 billion tons to make it worthwhile. That's not going to be the issue here. Infrastructure is just fine, thank you very much. So we've got roads, and this is hydroelectrically generated power as well. So if you're on the ESG, checking the boxes for ESG, you've got hydroelectricity generated supply here, and of course, arguably as important, deep water ice-free port at Burgeo, which is only 30 kilometers down the highway from
pretty much road access right to that deep water port.
It is, yeah. Oh yeah, it's a paved highway right to Burgeo, and of course this is the biggest highway in the world, the Atlantic Ocean. There's thousands of ships that go past this coast every month, I guess, on their way to the eastern seaboard and the Great Lakes. So it's all there, plus supportive communities. I mean, I've had, obviously, in fact, I'm now in email contact with the minister for mines in the province, because this is actually his electoral district.
Oh, wow. Be nice to bring him some jobs there, Tim.
So we're on first name basis, Andrew and I. And if you're listening, Andrew, thanks for your support. And it's and to that end, of course, the province has now boosted its support for companies that are exploring for critical minerals, to give a priority to those that are exploring for critical minerals, and to boost the overall return. Now, in terms of percentage of the property's expenditures, it's modest, but you know what? That money just comes right back and goes right back in the ground again, and just to create, as well as the local jobs we're creating. So I'm sounding like a politician now.
Well, anyway, that's not something to. These days, all the politicians around the world are eager to see green energy solutions in their backyard, and there's a big push going on in Canada right now, in Quebec, for lithium projects. So I'm sure Newfoundland would love to be in that camp as well. It looks like there's potential for mines of lithium there. So you're checking off all the boxes, Tim, and that could lead to some lithium production in Newfoundland and a lot of jobs.
Well, it is a little ways down the road, Alan, but you know what? I do believe that this property has already passed, a couple of hurdles in terms of well, we didn't miss with every drill hole we put in, clearly. Grades are getting better, thicker. Plus, the number of targets we got just keeps growing. And we've got, an awesome land package. The infrastructure is all going for us. So yeah, it's a really nice story developing, and people just have to be a little patient. It's going to take a little while for us, maybe even through the summer, to really get a handle on what's going on here. But it's possible that this thing could easily get ramped up to a property where we talked about a spin out. And I know we talked about it a while back, but I think maybe I was probably jumped the gun a little bit and suggesting that we were going to spin it out right away. But I think prudence will tell us that if we hang on to it for another little bit and build some value in here, that the spin out will be much more valuable in time than it would have been a few months ago. So
Tim, one thing I learned a long time ago from my geologist mentor was that, the trend in most exploration is everything starts out really big at the surface, but then when you get down, it gets smaller. You guys are seeing and in a mine a situation, as you follow that trend, things get bigger as you get the truth machine in there. And that's the trend you guys are following. So investors that are interested in lithium projects, you guys are on a hell of a trend there, Tim, as far as the evolution of how to understand what the surface is telling you, then what the drilling is telling you, and then how to be predictive with the drilling. And now you're starting to get into that 1% material.
Yes, exactly. And, certainly the path does look, fairly bright moving forward. But of course, it is still exploration. It's still early stage. And, we'll just do what we can, really. And, but you know what, given what we've accomplished so far, I think, and with what we have in front of us now in terms of a program for 2023, a minimum 5,000 meters of drilling plus Lord knows how many prospecting finds to follow up on, that will be, we'll see obviously what this is about, what that's about, what these are all about, what that's about. This bugger up here, he's way off trend. What is that? and ice directions, and ice direction is this way, so we know that this soil didn't come from down there. So there's something else going on up there as well. So again, and Hydra 12 kilometers away. I mean, we're only 4 kilometers here. So, further 8 kilometers to Hydra, where we really haven't done much yet either because of when it was found. It was found just as winter was coming on. So
really blows me away, that map that shows you all the what looks like dikes all over the place. Is you got a real serious field of pegmatite dikes, and who knows which one's got the monster.
Well, exactly.
Many monsters.
My point exactly. We still don't know. Like we could spot a hole here and end up with the biggest intersection yet. We don't know. Just people have to be a little patient to give us a chance to evaluate these anomalies. And but you know what? This is just more than I think a passing chance. I do believe that this project, at some point, hopefully will match some of the more advanced projects in Ontario and Quebec. And don't forget, a lot of those projects in Ontario are just dust-offs of discoveries that were made in the 50s. A lot of these old projects had resources already in the books. So, we're clearly starting from, page 1, day 1, Genesis here. So it's going to take a little while, hopefully not too long. But, the story will, I think, get better with time. And let's let it happen.
Well, you've done that already with the truth machine, Tim. Each time you get in there, it's getting better and better.
Exactly. Now, speaking of the truth machine,
was there any other slide you wanted to show us here before we get into one of my favorite gold exploration projects in the business? And the reason that I say that is I'm a junkie for high grade. And if you're looking for high grade, orogenic gold systems are what you want to look for. And when you find an orogenic gold system, you want to find these bonanza high-grade zones inside of an orogenic gold system, because that is company making stuff. You look at Swan Zone in Australia, where at Fosterville, it made Kirkland Lake, which was already a big company, into a really big company that ended up getting bought out because they mined the Swan Zone. It was very high grade, very low cost, high margin. These are the great systems, and you guys have gone through what I think is a seminal moment in the exploration of an orogenic gold system with the discovery of your 463 zone. Let's talk about that, because you just had news out last week about that, Tim.
Yeah, and you know what? It's too bad that the timing couldn't have been a little better, that we could have had, both out at the same time. In fact, I was very disappointed. I was just out recently to Vancouver for the Resource Investment Conference, and I was really hoping to have, just get up on stage and give a presentation with new results. And unfortunately, no, we were just a week or two behind, unfortunately, with getting the results that we needed to put out these. But anyway,
you're a couple weeks ahead of the PDAC, my man.
I guess, yeah. Well, yes, okay. So we got it all out there now, and so we'll be pretty talkative when we get to Toronto for sure. But the recent press release from last week, yes. So where we are now. Oh, and by the way, for those fans that are listening, wedging is now underway from hole 512, which was the second hole to test. Let me just get this. Okay, so 463 is here. And
okay, hold on. Before we get into that, Tim. So what you do in a wedging situation is you send a mother hole down, and then they put like wedges, that's what they put in down the hole. And that gives you the ability to change the direction of the hole. And that's crucial when you're chasing something like what you have at the 463 zone. So I'll let you go, Tim.
Exactly. So hole 505, which was the which was the hole that first tested, I guess, if you wanted to call it, the 463 zone from I guess the direction that we now know is different than what would be expected to drill, say, the main eastern trend. And just to go there, okay, let's just go there. So 463. Let me just reduce this a little bit, because I think it's not quite showing up there. Yeah, so 463 was drilled the traditional way. Basically, here's the east trend, so we're testing this the way you're supposed to test it. But we intersected that major hit in 463 quite a distance, 25 or 30 meters. I know that doesn't sound like a long ways, but in a mine environment, it is potentially. What we intersected, what appeared to be a splay coming off the eastern trend in the footwall. And we now know, of course, that hole 505 hit 6 additional zones of gold mineralization in the footwall environment. So the footwall is what would be lying below, say, a body of mineralization like this. So this is traditionally what would be called a hanging wall up here, or above the zone. And this area down here would be known as the footwall. So we're now seeing in the footwall multiple zones of veining that is perpendicular to the main eastern trend. So all of the holes, and we only have hole 463 on, but a lot of our holes are coming in this way, suggesting that we could be missing high-grade veins simply by just following what would be considered the normal way to drill this zone. Hole 505, as I mentioned, cut 6 additional zones of gold mineralization, including 4 with VG, in and around where we would have expected to get it, close to the 463 zone. Unfortunately, 505 deflected upwards just enough that it missed, the bulk of the target area. Mm-hmm. But the fact that we actually got visible gold, similar looking, although narrow, suggests that yes, we did pass through, I guess, the edges of the zone. So what came next?
I might interject something there, Tim. Sorry for interrupting you again, but when you're sort of at the top of an orogenic gold system, you're generally going to get finer grained material. and gold. And as you get deeper and closer to the heat engine, you get coarser gold. But the fact that you're hitting VG is an awfully good indicator of what lies below it.
Awesome, Alan. Thank you for that. And yeah, so hole 512, which we just finished, and is now I think we have 5 boxes of core from the wedge hole. So the wedge appears to have set and taken hold, at least for the first wedge, and is projected to give us a cut higher up. Hopefully in the middle of where the 463 zone would be. Now we've started the wedge back, I think at about 170 meters down the hole. So we still need to drill a couple of 100 meters before we get there. So it's going to take a little while, a few days. Maybe next week we'll be into that. And hopefully, yeah, if we can, with success there, we'll wedge a second hole off that. As you mentioned, you drilled the mother hole, and 512 is now the mother hole with at least 2 wedges planned. What happens, we'll have to see. But so the target is still there. I mean, we we know it's there because it's in 463, and we're pretty certain we cut the top of it with hole 505. Hole 505, hole 512. There was a thought that maybe it would deflect upwards like 505 did, but no, drill holes have a mind of their own. When you want them to bend, they don't, and when you don't want them to bend, they do. 512, yeah, 512 stayed straight and was intended just to go through here. That was the direction we wanted, but we were hoping that it would kind of run again and come and fill in this area here, but it didn't happen. But that's fine. That was part of the plan. Plan B now is basically the wedging, and that has started. So in a week or so we should know what the first of the wedges is going to return in terms of hopefully a cut through the through the 463 zone.
So Tim, I just wanted to I'm just pulling something up here because going back to the 463 original hit, 10 meters of 41.9, so let's say 42 grams of gold, and there was a inside of that there was some 3 meters of 102 grams. So you're starting to look like you're on the top of something like a swan zone.
Well, actually, I have a picture, Alan, of that of that sort of scenario here, and this is a part of the. It occurs for I think 2 or 3 boxes above this as well, but this is where undoubtedly that 3 meter intersection you said of 100. Here's 3.5 of 90 grams, right? So, what people have to be also mindful of is that if we get lucky, hole 512A will cut right through this, and we'll get a really nice hit. If we're not so lucky, 512A might cut through here, and we cut through a section of 4.7 grams or 2.4 grams. So again, you're looking at a diameter of a hole that's this big, and you can't always tell exactly where it's going to go. We hope that we get something similar to this, but if we get this, people shouldn't be disappointed. I think
even in that core is suggesting that you're on the top of something because you're getting some mixing there, right, Tim?
Yep. And like I said, we could get kind of unlucky, if you will, and end up cutting through a 4.7 gram portion of it, or a 2 or a 3.8 or a 5.8 gram. Time will tell where we cut through. Obviously, I would love to cut through, this lovely lady here, but I mean. We'll just have to wait and see. It's not just one solid quartz vein. It's a series of veins. Some obviously are much more enriched in gold than others, and to hit a 3.5 meter wide, zone at 400 meters down the hole, you got to have a little bit of luck.
Not solid quartz, so you're kind of diluting the grade a little bit there. Right, Tim?
Yeah, there are some wall rock inclusions, of course, because these veins obviously intrude into the host sediments. So you will get a little bit of that. But again, we just hope that we cut a higher grade portion of the 463 zone than a lower grade. I know our shareholders are certainly hoping that, as am I. But we have to be kind of cognizant of the fact that drill hole could go through here with 2 grams, 2.3, 3.8, 1, 5.8. If we see similar style of a zone in terms of, do we get a lot of this stuff? Do we get a lot of this stuff? That'll tell us, yeah, we're in the right neighborhood. So, like I said.
Well, and that's why, Tim, I believe companies should be more open with their core, because you can start to tell the story here. Say, depending on what you hit, if you've got a background here, and you can use that to compare, and people can realize, well, you're still in the system, and you don't keep following that system. That's the way these orogenic gold systems are.
Yeah, for sure. And this whole intersection, I mean, for the most part, all of the sampled intervals are above, say, a specific cutoff. Now, I don't know what a cutoff would be considered, half a gram or even a gram, but as you can tell, most of these things are, all of them are actually north of a half a gram. So
yeah, but even in
cutoff,
that 1 gram section, right? Look at all the dilution of the country rock. So you're still seeing good grades in the actual quartz.
Yeah.
Because you can't just assay the quartz.
This is another example of the nugget effect as well. I mean, here's a vein that's almost 2 meters long. The top half ran 0.8 grams, and the bottom half ran 5.8. That could easily be the other way around, depending on how the core was cut. Or
move it over 2 feet.
Yeah, or move it over 2 feet. So, obviously this is why these things need to be drilled so tightly, Alan. And people have been critical of us for, this, the 15 meter, 20 meter, 25 meter sort of thing. But
hey, Tim,
it has to be done. And
it's pretty darn good when you got something that you got to drill off tightly, my friend.
Oh, exactly. So let's just get back to the other part of the press release from last week.
Yeah, that, people might not get too excited about the numbers in that 511 zone, but you're just getting started there, and already you're hitting gold.
So yeah, exactly. We were testing out some IP that we had remodeled from some old IP surveys that Altius had done back in the 90s. I think some of it was done by Tech, in fact, back when they were on the project. And yeah, we cut this nice structure with obviously wide, 20 meters of just over a gram. And like you said, those grades may not light people's fires, but the thing is, it's new. We don't know how big this is. It seems to have a slightly different orientation than everything else. So is it a different type? Is it an earlier form of mineralization? But for me, Alan, the thing is that, in both of these holes, it's very similar to what we get surrounding higher grade veins in every other zone we have on the property. We just haven't, and maybe the high grade veins are shooting off this at an angle like this, so they're in between the drill holes. So it takes more than a couple of holes sometimes to determine what is or isn't there. And there's also a drill spinning on this target now as well. So we could have, the next news release will probably be updates on both this new zone as well as obviously progress at the 463 zone.
So you got the wedge going down at 463. You got a hole going down on the south pond. Were you able to tie in the geophysical anomaly to what you hit? Like, does it look like you were on the edge of the geophysical anomaly? Do you, what's that story like, Tim, on the South Pond?
Well, South Pond, where it's so deep, it's actually below the readability, if you will, or the grasp of a standard IP, which only gets you down probably 50, 60, 75 meters, at best, depending on your station spacing and that sort of stuff. So we're going to need to be a little creative, maybe with mag, if possible, because there are dikes involved. Again, we do see dikes in every other zone to to date at Moosehead, and where they're altered and mineralized with pyrite and arsenopyrite is where we get, you know, the 1, 2, 3, 4 gram sort of stuff. And we do get assays up to almost 4 grams in this material. It's not all 1 grams. This is stuff that contains 2 grams. This is a graded interval over, you know, 20 meters. So there's obviously better grades in here as well. So geophysics, I'm cautious with geophysics because it's I'm more of a guy that needs something in his hand, like a piece of core or a rock. You know, a geophysical anomaly is
Or a structure to follow.
Is something that can be created just by filtering your data. So I mean, with all due respect to those in the geophysics world, you know, it did provide some sort of guidance, you know, for a near surface structure, but you know, this stuff is down 400 meters.
Which is
so,
usually, even no matter what geophysical method you use,
yeah,
is
it's
beyond
getting
the
down to
detection.
it's getting down to the limit, right? So
Yeah.
you know, we may decide to do some deeper deeper seeking stuff at some point, but for now, we're just going to let, as you call it, the truth machine, you know, do the talking for us.
Well, and it's been talking on your lithium, it's talking on your 463 zone. You got a good trend going on with your truth machine work there, Tim.
Well, thank you. And yeah, let's you know, obviously we're going to be busy now right through all of 2023. We're probably now close to 80,000, maybe just over 80,000 meters drilled in that 100,000 meter program. But guess what? We're not stopping at 100,000 meters. We're just gonna, that's just a number that we put up just to put up a number. But I mean, we're not going to stop, clearly. We're going to keep going and, you know, build on these zones and hopefully, you know, get them to a stage where at some point, you know, we can look at trying to figure things out in terms of what we may actually have here. But it's still too early. Like I said, each drill hole could bring a new discovery. And you know, once you do these things, you know, they're just like a tattoo on you. And you know, people want obviously the best sort of number that you can get out. And until I'm done drilling, that's going to be pretty much the story. We're just going to keep going until.
Can you go off share screen there for a second, Tim, and we'll wrap things up by
okay.
So there you go. Couple of handsome guys. Well, Tim, I'm really glad for you because you know, you're a geologist. You're an exploration dude from the 2-year core, and it's always exciting. You know, you've been doggedly determined at Moosehead, and now I think that you started to hit a jewelry box in an orogenic gold system, and now you can sink your teeth into chasing that. But then you know, you've gone over here and looked at lithium, and now you've got another project that you've got a big runway, lots of indications that you're in a big system there, and you got a second project to sink your teeth into. So congratulations, Tim. You're the kind of guy that I like to see make these kind of discoveries.
Well, thank you, Allan. And again, you know, to everybody listening, it's still very early days at Kraken. Again, I think the soil geochemistry speaks for itself, that there's still a lot more to be found here. We still don't know, and not because we're stupid. It's just because we still haven't really explored enough on this project these soil anomalies are new. I mean, we only got these results just in the past little while, long after the snow was down, so we couldn't really prospect around them. So we don't know what we're going to find in the spring, but based on our experience at the main Kraken discovery area, that, you know, if you start getting over 100 ppm lithium in soils, you're very close to something in bedrock. And I'm quite certain, or optimistic anyway, that you know, these new soil anomalies, which are several kilometers away from anything we know for certain, you know, that the spring will be, you know, bagging up some rock with some spodumene in it.
Well, and you've got a hell of a looking news flow. You've got Moosehead to keep you busy for the rest of the year from right now. Then in a couple months, you're going to be cranking up the truth machine at Kraken. In the summer, you're going to be able to go and, do more soils and look at this massive field of dikes. And that will lead you to the winter. You guys are going to have the rest of the year being real busy, so we can do a bunch of these interviews, Tim.
Absolutely.
Well, you're always welcome, Tim, and again, congratulations to you guys, Benton. You guys partnered up on the lithium stuff, and now you guys all alone on one of my favorite orogenic gold systems. I love it when I start seeing that bonanza grade stuff, Tim, and you guys are chasing after it on Moosehead as well.
Well, thanks again, Allan, and always a pleasure.
I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks, Tim. So there you go, folks. I think this company has two potential company making assets. Moosehead with the 463 zone and chasing that bonanza grade, and it looks like they're on the top of a system. And then you got this emerging lithium inside of a lithium bull market in Canada. And this isn't just some moose pasture that they hope would have lithium. These guys are advancing rapidly on a brand new discovery of lithium. As Tim said, some of those other lithium projects are kind of dusted off projects. This is new discovery. And so I think for investors, this company offers some tremendous opportunities, and I think you should do your homework. Go look at all the news releases they put out, because this company's really good at explaining in maps and in their news releases what they're doing. And on that note, have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.